Hello and welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather and this video is part of a collaboration headed up by yours truly about the 5 things that I wish I knew before I got XYZ livestock. So this is the rabbit video and I've gotten together with a few of my close friends so that we can touch on topics like honeybees, chickens, ducks, goats, cattle, there's one more, and pigs. So I'm going to be listing all of the channels that are participating in the collaboration in the description box below. If you could go to each channel, make sure that you're already subscribed and turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when they post their collaboration video. Everyone who's participating in the collaboration has the freedom to post whenever it fits their schedule. So sometime in the next week, between the 11th and the 18th, all of the channels should be posting their video. And once they do so, I'm going to be putting them all in a really nice, easy to access playlist for everybody to access when they are interested in getting a new livestock animal. So this collaboration is really geared towards people who maybe you have livestock animals already, but you might be looking into getting a couple more or one more. I know a lot of people keep a lot of livestock, but have always thought about keeping bees. So we've got you covered there. This is not just for new livestock owners, but for anyone who's looking maybe to getting a new type of livestock. So definitely subscribe to all the channels, make sure you're watching for their video, and when they do post the video, make sure that you comment underneath each video because that's going to enter you to win a Pigness of Pigs book by Joel Salatin. So at the end of the whole shebang, I'm going to be picking a random video from the collaboration and then picking a random comment out of that video to win the prize. Now you don't have to have your eyes on pigs in order to benefit from this book. It's actually not about raising pigs at all, but really it's a book about livestock as a whole and in general, and raising them well and stewarding them to the best of your ability. It's a really good read. So we've been raising rabbits on our farm for almost 3 years. We've got our first rabbits in 2020 and they were not meat specific breeds. And I had kind of in my YouTube research assumed that that was going to be okay. As far as I knew, rabbits basically ate the same thing and rabbits basically got to be about the same size, and it didn't matter if I got a meat specific breed or not. I really wanted to have meat as well as really pretty pelts, and I wanted to have the ability to sell rabbits, and usually the pretty rabbits sell the best. And so I thought I was going to get the best of all the worlds, and that proved to be far from the truth. We really wish we had really known the difference between meat quality breeds and, you know, your just standard run-of-the-mill pet bunny, because they cannot compare as far as what they're able to produce and what they're able to put on the table. So meat-specific breeds of rabbits, which include rabbits like Californian, New Zealand's, and a couple other breeds, they are specifically bred and designed to have a really great feed conversion ratio. So you're not going to get the same amount of bunny out of the same amount of feed when you feed a standard pet rabbit. They'll go through lots and lots of feed and really not put much muscling on at all, while the meat rabbits, they tend to eat very little and turn that into muscling very, very efficiently. It's absolutely worth the cost to find really great quality meat specific breeds and to have those in your rabbitry if the main goal is meat in the freezer. Now you can raise pretty bunnies that do put on a decent amount of weight, like Rex rabbits. Here's a word of caution. You don't necessarily want to just trust anybody's word that they have great quality rabbits of any type. So we actually sell pretty bunnies, as we call them, pet rabbits, to our local farm store. And sometimes when we go in there, there are things labeled New Zealand, Rex, Californian that don't look like those things. So I think the people maybe who are accepting the rabbits for the store don't know any different, and they don't know that they're labeling something Rex that is not an actual Rex. And when you don't really understand rabbits, you're not going to be able to pick up on that. And so it's something to be very aware of. You want to know the breed standards, and you want to be able, especially if you want them for meat, you want them to be able to reach 5 pounds within about 8 to 10 weeks old. So the rabbits behind me are Californian meat rabbits, and they are very good quality rabbits, and they will reach 5 pounds by about 9 weeks old, which is the perfect middle spot for that standard. We actually just recently weighed one of the does out of the litter, and she was 4 pounds and 13 ounces at 8 weeks old, which is very close to 5 pounds. So I'm super happy with the rabbits that we have. And we bought them from an ARBA certified breeder. So they were registered animals. I don't have the papers here. They didn't transfer over to me. I didn't pay to have them transferred, but I knew what I was getting into. So it's definitely worth calling around and finding somebody who can tell you those numbers. If you call somebody and you're like, hey, how much do they weigh at, between 8 and 10 weeks, or how much do they weigh at weaning, and they don't really know, it's not going to hurt to ask them to weigh them to make sure that they are going to hit that target weight, because that's a pretty important detail, like I said, when your goal is meat on the table. We'll get through this. The second point that I wanted to make, or the second thing that I wish I knew before I had gotten into rabbits, was rabbits don't necessarily breed like rabbits. Some rabbits can actually be pretty hard to breed, and there's a few things that kind of have to align perfectly for the rabbits to be able to breed successfully and reliably. Now, most of them do breed pretty reliably, but there are cases where things are just difficult. They need to have certain nutrient minimums met. They need to be not too fat or too skinny. And in general, there needs to be a good amount of light. So rabbits are a lot like chickens, where chickens, they don't lay eggs well in the winter, and it's because there's a lack of light. Some of that has to do with a lack of nutrition, but a lot of it is just a lack of sunlight. I think it's on their pituitary gland. So making sure they have an ideal light situation, 12 to 14 hours a day, making sure they are good on their nutrition. Sometimes you can put apple cider vinegar in their water, and sometimes it just takes persistence in order to get them to breed. So it's not unusual for a rabbit to have a hard time successfully breeding, so understand that up front. They don't always breed like rabbits. A third thing that I wish I knew when we first got into raising rabbits was I wish that I knew that they didn't expressly need hay. So when you're researching rabbits, the first thing that you always see is hay, hay, hay. Hay needs to be the main part of their diet. And I don't think that that's necessarily true, especially for a meat rabbit. So there's a channel that I watched a lot when I was first getting into rabbits. And if I can remember what the channel is, I'm going to put it down here and in the description box below. But she had a lot of very good information about rabbit nutrition, and she had figured out that rabbits actually can get too much fiber, and a lot of hays are 20% or more fiber. And the issue with having too much fiber is sometimes it can actually just push the nutrients out of the body faster than the body is able to retain those nutrients, and it also can contribute to a toughening of the intestinal lining, which long term can prevent nutrition from being absorbed. So definitely something to consider when you are getting into rabbits, that maybe they don't need all of that hay. In general, they should stay between a 15 and 19% fiber in their diet, and most of the time, the standard rabbit pellet, that's where the percentages are at. And that was kind of a relief to me when I did figure that out, because we like to raise our rabbits up off the ground in cages. Sometimes the hay situation can be a huge mess and really a pain in the butt. So it was nice for me to figure out that I didn't actually need to feed hay at all if I didn't want to. I will say it's important to have hay on hand anyways, because if a rabbit does go off feed, if they are sick at all, hay is the first and only thing that you want to feed to get them eating again. So hay is important, but it's not the most important thing. The fourth thing that I wish I knew or realized when we first got rabbits was rabbits do not mother their young. They don't seem to acknowledge their young very much. Now, some of them will defend their nest pretty well, but here's an example. If a baby somehow gets out of the nest box, sometimes they can kind of stay latched onto mama's belly when they're nursing, and when she hops out of the nest, a young baby can fall off of her out of the nest. This mother is not going to pick up that bunny and put it back in the nest. She'll just sit there and watch it die. I don't know what it is about them, but rabbits do not mother. So it actually is a really common myth that if humans touch baby bunnies, then the mother will eat them or the mother will reject them. That is completely not true in my experience. We have had hundreds and hundreds of baby bunnies born here on the farm, and I have touched them all within the first 24 hours, and not once has the mother ever rejected the bunnies because I touched them. So that's a myth. If you see the bunny outside the nest box, touch it with your bare hands, doesn't matter. Put it back in the nest where it belongs, because the mother will leave it there and she'll let it die. And the fifth and final thing that I wish I knew or wish that I had researched before getting into rabbits was the rabbit hemorrhagic disease. It's actually quite common in the United States, and I didn't realize that it was in our area until a couple weeks ago when I was making a video for my Raising Rabbit series. So knowing about rabbit hemorrhagic disease up front before you even get into raising rabbits really will help you make some of these decisions that you have when setting up your rabbitry. So if you live in an RHD positive area, you really want to consider not keeping your rabbits outside on grass. You want to consider not feeding them greens from your land or giving them access to anything that a wild rabbit may have touched or consumed. So definitely look into RHD if you're thinking about getting rabbits. You can absolutely raise rabbits very successfully in these areas. There's just different precautions that you want to be able to take. So don't forget, this whole video is part of a whole collaboration that's going to be going on this week. 2 of my friends actually posted their videos today, same time as me. And in case you're not subscribed to them, and in case you don't have your bell turned on for them, Monty up here is going to be talking to us about 5 things that he wishes he knew when he got honeybees. And Mike and Kelsey are going to be down here talking about cattle. The whole collaboration playlist, I'm going to link it up here, and as the people post their videos this week, I'll be adding to this playlist. And if you're interested in knowing more about raising rabbits, I have a series that I'm working on right down here.